The body is a very complex matrix of systems which work individually and collectively. When you get sick and experience some symptoms, how does your doctor tell what is wrong, considering that the body is fully covered with the skin? By looking at the symptoms. The same symptom in one person can mean a different illness in another person. This is the dilemma that is facing health practitioners every day. The headache of diagnosis. In this show, we present you with a medical intuitive who transcends the barriers of diagnosis and treatment and make this look so easy. Watch the show and be amazed.
I am a medical intuitive. I use alternative techniques to diagnose and treat illnesses.
I think babegesa kuthiwa inobayilizanga tepate bayichane kahle, and according to into yabo i-research yabo ayikho i-treatment for the disease.
This is a God-given gift which is coupled with my training and acumen for physiology and anatomy. Over the years, I've successfully diagnosed and treated illnesses that have defied even the best of some of the medical practices. We all have our life purpose, and this one is mine. Welcome to Dr. Alternative Show, and thank you for watching our show, and thank you for your contributions and your inputs. We really appreciate them, and we even appreciate those people that make some suggestions, because I've had one or two people that came up with some suggestions. We really appreciate that. You must not think we get offended when you suggest something. We're covering a heart problem bonanza these past weeks, and even the one that's coming today, and we're still going to do one more in the next show again. But today we're going to be covering calcification as a cause for cardiac problems. Okay. But before we go to that, I will also want to show you again this video clip about cardiovascular system. Please take a look.
The heart has two major circuits within the circulatory pathway which work together in a closed circulatory system. These two pathways are the pulmonary pathway and the systemic pathway. In the human organism, the right side of the heart pushes the blood through the pulmonary circuit so that it can be oxygenated in the lungs. The left side of the heart pumps oxygenated blood to the entire body. The blood is then returned to the heart via the systemic pathway, where the cycle begins again through the pulmonary pathway. It can be said that the heart is actually two pumps divided by a septum or wall. As mentioned in the muscular system video, the heart is an involuntary muscle that works somewhat independently from the nervous system. Let's take a look at what makes up the heart. The heart is a muscular organ with 4 hollow chambers. It consists of 2 atria, which are the upper chambers, and 2 ventricles, which are the lower chambers. The left and right sides of the heart are divided by the septum. The word vessel has many meanings, but in anatomy and physiology, blood vessels are meant for carrying blood throughout the body. The blood vessels are similar to a two-way highway system. One lane, or direction, is known as the arteries, and the other is called the veins.
Welcome back. Before we get into the discussion about calcification, there's something that I feel I must make or I must just warn you about, because I've had some people asking me some questions about all these things that we're being advised to take to protect ourselves from COVID, and vitamin C is one of them. Vitamin C is actually quite important for your immune system. But if you are iron overloaded, like I touched on the show that you presented last week, and I indicated that those people that have got iron overload are actually exposed to a lot of problems, including heart problems. But vitamin C, if you are iron overloaded, you cannot, I stress, you cannot take vitamin C. Why? Because it enhances the absorption of iron. That's the reason. It enhances the absorption of iron. So don't run for vitamin C where you are not sure if you have got issues of iron overload. And because, I indicated a few areas where you might notice if you're iron overloaded. But one other thing that I also want to touch on, because someone asked me, if you've got serious pigmentation, now pigmentation is that discoloration that you will see on the skin where you find your skin becomes very dark. It's not your normal color, but it gets very dark. You may have it in certain areas, like we will show in this footage. But if you're iron overloaded, that is also an indicator of iron overload. In fact, you might find some people, there are those people that you find, particularly those that are coming from Africa, where you find that they're not just black, they're almost grayish black in their complexion. Yeah. So that's a very high accumulation of iron, okay, in those cases.
Yeah, very quickly, Mamtumbi, trying to reverse you back to the previous show. When you speak vitamin C,
yes,
and we spoke about people that are fructose intolerant. A lot of us think we're heading deeply into winter season.
Yes.
And we're still dealing with the COVID dynamic where it presents all sorts of flu symptoms. A lot of us think an orange will still suffice. An orange is a source of vitamin C that all of us know of. How does that correlate with
what I'm saying now?
With what we're talking about right now?
Yeah. Not just only an orange. Of course, it doesn't mean you're not going to need to take vitamin C. You will still have to take. In fact, you will still have to get. Let me not say take, because what I'm talking about is when you actually supplement. Okay. So in your diet, you might have to limit the intake of those high carrying vitamin C type of foods, like this vitamin C that you're talking about. This orange that you're talking about. But when it comes to supplements, because remember, supplements are an added supply of whatever you are taking, you're supplementing on. So you cannot take vitamin C supplements, because with COVID, that is an encouragement. That what you take, the vitamin C that you're getting from what you're taking is not sufficient. So you've got to supplement your vitamins. Don't do it when you have got issues, you're querying your iron levels, because it is very serious for people that are iron overloaded, because it will enhance your iron levels.
And just to remind the viewers, what are the symptoms? How would you pick up whether you are overloaded?
Iron overloaded. Oh. Okay. Skin is one of them, the one that I've just mentioned.
Discoloration.
Okay, the discoloration, but the dark discoloration, because you also get the white, the light complexion, like those people that end up with vitiligo, end up depigmenting.
Yes.
But with iron overload, you will actually hyperpigment, hyperpigmentation. But then you might also find that you're sensitive to anything that's metal. When you touch it, it's like there's you are being and you might feel dizzy, you might feel fatigued, and you might you might have even those headaches, or because remember, even when you're iron deficient, you will feel dizzy, you will feel fatigued. But even with iron overload, you might experience that.
But then with the discoloration, without taking you off topic a lot, with discoloration, you also pick up people that HIV positive people. I don't know recently, but I know in the past, where I've observed one person turning a very beautiful lady, but turning very, very dark.
Yes. No, but then because remember, HIV, especially once you take ARVs, they are heavy on the liver, very heavy on the liver, and you must know that the pigmentation, the melanin is actually produced by the liver. So it's the liver that determines your coloration, your melanin. So even those people that have got vitiligo, and that's also a liver problem. Okay, so those people, HIV people, that particularly those that are on ARVs, you will find that they will develop that as a sign of the liver taking a huge knock from those ARVs. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that because I know people are buying vitamin C in big quantities. You should, but if you have got questions about your iron levels, don't dare go there. Okay, but if you're not certain, then we will give you clarity as far as that is concerned.
So in closure of this topic, what is your advice? Is it diet? Do we need to fix diet in the right way?
No, but you need first to know, because this is tricky. Remember, when you've got iron issues, because I had someone saying she's been taking iron since she was a child, but she never comes out of the symptoms of iron deficiency. Okay. So once you've got too much iron, you've got to chelate. You've got to take it out, reduce it. But once you've got insufficient iron, you've got to get it.
Have you got medication at the
for either?
To enhance or reduce?
Or to chelate, okay. Or even in the case, if you remember in the past show, I touched about sideroblastic anemia, where you find a person is swimming between too little and too much, in the same body. It's dumped in the organs, but it's deficient. It's not there in the blood. So you find those people are told to keep on taking, and the body is going to keep on getting rid of it, because that's what happens.
And this is all about absorption now. Whether the body or the organs can absorb what it requires at that time.
And store. It's not just only absorption. Absorption and also storage, because the liver is storing it. Okay. So when you've got too much or too little, the liver has got a play in it. In the storage. But now I'm getting to your question as to how do you fix. When it's little, you've got to beef it up. When it's too much, you've got to reduce it. When you're swimming between too much and too little, you need to know how to take care of the one in the blood, which is short, and how to get rid of the one that's dumped in the organs, which is too much. So you've got to know which one you are dealing with. Okay, so that was just, I wanted to touch on this one because of what is happening at the moment, that people are encouraged to take vitamin C, which is good, but if you've got iron overload, it's going to mess you up big time.
And in closing of this topic, Ma, can I just ask one question that this is my personal question. Liver pain. People actually don't know where liver pain comes from. Until someone told me. I would think, and maybe would confuse it with what's happening in the stomach, as our previous topic spoke about. But liver pain actually happens at the back.
No, not only at the back. No, not necessarily. I mean, your liver is on your right-hand side.
Okay.
The liver is on the right-hand side. But it will happen anyway, because remember, depending on what is actually the problem. If you've got a gallstone, depending on where it's lodged, where it's stuck, you will experience where it's lodged. But it's largely, you will experience the liver more on the right side or even high up. Okay. So back, this part that you're pointing, that's more kidney than liver.
Okay.
Yes, that's more kidney than liver. Yeah, okay. So, but that's just digressing. We can always go back to that when the time comes. But let's come back to our topic, calcification. Okay. Now, calcification, we all know calcium. Okay, I know that there are so many products that are presently being advertised that beef up our calcium content. And we know it's food for our bones, for our skeletal system, for our teeth. So if you tend to have the breakages of the bones easily, they will say take calcium. Okay, if you've got joints, they will say calcium. Okay. It's true, it's food for the joints. Not just for the joints, but for the bones. Okay. But even for some tissues as well. Okay. It's not just only limited to that, but it's largely that function. Okay. But now that mineral is a function for it to reach its destination. It's not just a function of one part of the body, one system. Your thyroid is huge in calcium processing, okay, because it provides a hormone that works with calcium. When we come back from the break, we're going to elaborate more on this. Let's go for a quick break.
Are you sitting with an illness with no diagnosis, and every doctor in town does not know what is wrong with you? Don't throw in a towel. There's hope for you. St. Mary's Alternative Clinic is a clinic with divine guidance that can do what doctors can't do. Make a booking and you won't be sorry.
Welcome back. We're talking about calcium, but as a calcification, which might even end up causing you to have a heart attack or even a congestive heart failure. Okay, because there's a difference between a heart attack and a congestive heart failure, but we'll get into that when we discuss. But now, like I'm saying, that calcium is a function of your thyroid, is a function of your small intestines, and is a function of your kidney. So if there are issues with one of those, you might have issues of calcium. Okay. Thyroid, because it provides the hormone that processes calcium. Okay. Your small intestines, because they absorb the calcium. Okay.
And your thyroid, where is it based?
Your thyroid is on your neck. Yeah, on your
so it affects your intake of oxygen?
No, it will not affect intake of oxygen. It will affect, once it affects you in the thyroid, it messes up a lot of things, particularly the heart, particularly the rate at which you burn up food, your metabolism, and a whole lot of other things.
But the thyroid is a gland.
The thyroid is a gland.
Okay.
Thyroid is a gland. Okay. Just like even the kidney, the adrenal glands, those are glands. Okay. So that's your endocrine system. Okay. So but getting back to the thyroid produces the hormone that's going to help you to process and absorb in fact, not just only absorb because it's your small intestine, but that cooks and prepares that calcium so that it does its function. Okay. And your small intestines, they will absorb it because we don't make calcium. We get it from food.
The body cannot create calcium?
No, it gets it from food.
So without eating, without proper nutrition, you are saying that body would always be deficient of calcium?
Yes, if you don't get the right nutrients that supply you with that. Okay. So
let's talk the foods that supply calcium.
Before we talk to the foods, because I want people to first understand. We'll finish with those foods, but largely it's dairy. Okay, you'll find that it's dairy and it's veggies, certain veggies. You can even get it in some of the food. So, but in a nutshell, in summary, we can come back to that. Okay. But calcium, therefore, like we absorb it in our small intestines. The thyroid will give the hormone to cook it and prepare it, and then your kidneys will help to maintain the balance. Okay, because you must not have high levels of calcium; they must be normal. Okay, well processed, well leveled, and sent to where it's supposed to go. But now, when you calcify, it's when it gets deposited, it crystallizes, because it's not supposed. Firstly, it's transported by the blood. That's how it gets to your bones and your tissues and your teeth. It's the blood that transports that.
Get cooked by the kidney?
No, the kidney filters it, balances it. Okay, it's the hormone that cooks it from your thyroid. Yeah. Okay. So But now the problem is, if there's a problem first with the thyroid, because this case that I'm going to talk about, because I maybe I should go to that case before we analyze it further. Okay. Now this person, this client of mine, did not come because of calcium problems. She came because her heart was racing. The heart was pumping like she said she wished she could hold it. You know, that's how much it was racing, and it was.
Is this when people say I've got heart palpitations?
Yeah, but extreme heart palpitations, where you find a person say.
But the thing is, we call these terms not understanding exactly what they mean, because we're hoping that it will make sense. So I've got a person that's in Novalo.
Exactly. Exactly. Don't believe this cause as if I'm going to get some bad news or something.
Exactly. Whereas your body is actually working against even your bad news.
Yeah.
Because your salary was your salary before you had the palpitations. You knew how much you got paid.
Exactly. So that's what she was experiencing. And then she said she was so tired. While the heart was racing, she said she was getting so tired, so tired, and losing weight. And they started losing weight. And then when they tested her, they found that, that heart is actually going to give a heart. I mean, it's just going to stop. So she said when they tested, they saw, that her thyroid was pumping too much of that hormone. Too much. It must not pump less. It must not pump too much. It must just pump sufficient. But it was pumping too much. So she had a condition which is called hyperthyroid. Okay, that is now too much supply of the hormone. Okay. And as a result, that is what was causing her to lose weight the way she was doing, because she was metabolizing too fast. Now remember, thyroid is also responsible for metabolism, but parathyroid is responsible for pumping the hormone for calcium, processing calcium. But thyroid as a whole is responsible for breaking down food. So she was losing weight fast, fast, while the heart was racing and she was tired and all that. And then when they tested her, they found that she was actually having hyperthyroidism, which means too much hormone was being pumped. Okay. But then they tried to give her medication so that it would stabilize this oversupply or overproduction of the hormone. But it was not responding. So what they normally do in a case where there's too much of it, they actually remove the gland. Okay.
Yeah, also, when someone goes in for an operation and they take out the thyroid gland?
Yes. Okay. It's when it's too much and it's not responding.
But now, this is conventional medicine.
This is conventional medicine.
And then here comes the problem. Because I'm listening to this and my questions can go any direction. Because these functions, these bodily functions, depend on each other to function well.
Yes.
And all of them have to be fixed at a certain point at the same time. And I'm coming to you on this point. We go to conventional medicine because we always need to refer back to it.
Yes.
I go to conventional and I say, all I'm going to represent to a doctor are my symptoms. Something wrong gets treated. I get treated for thyroid or a thyroid gland that's not normal or overproducing, or they assume, whereas the source of it is the calcium content that's not being processed by the liver.
No, by the kidney.
By the kidney.
Yeah. No, but in her case, I'll come back to your comment. But in her case, it was true that her thyroid was overproducing the hormone. Okay, but all that they gave her to try and stabilize it, it was not responding. And if that thyroid kept on producing that much, it was going to kill her because already her heart was saying, I cannot handle it.
How does it kill her? What is the thyroid doing by overproducing?
No,
what
but
is it
the heart,
sending to the
firstly the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's overworking that heart.
Okay.
Like she was saying,
that's the palpitations.
Palpitations.
Okay.
And she was getting so tired. And also that food. Remember, food that you eat and that get metabolized. It's supposed to be done at a normal speed. The food, you cannot take food that's supposed to be, because remember all those processes are measured naturally. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's created by me or you that it should. It's measured that a food, this type of food, if you eat it, it must stay for this long in your stomach, and this is what must happen. So all that, and that is controlled by metabolism. Okay. And then that how it gets converted into energy, how insulin gets there, how your pepsin gets there, how your these different types of enzymes.
But then we don't have the sequence.
No, let me finish. We do. The body does have the sequence. The body does have the sequence. But then once it has the problems, then you find the sequence is thrown out.
Okay.
But then, like what I'm getting at to, that if metabolism is too fast, then that food or whatever is being processed is not following. It's like if, for instance, if I may make an example, that you suppose rain that's raining too fast.
Okay.
You find rain that's raining too fast does not filter into the soil.
It becomes like an overflow.
Exactly. Whereas the one that's flowing, that's like simmering slowly and all that, it filters and it actually makes that soil to be wet enough.
Because just to take you out of that one, just to put it in perspective, you get a place that has had a drought and you get a heavy rainfall. But then the water is not being deposited in the right place.
And then you find after the rain,
they still have a drought.
They still have a drought. Okay. So if you look at nature is very consistent. Whether you look at the plant or you look at the human being, you look at the animal, there's a lot of consistency. Okay. So even with our bodies, that's how it works. It's supposed to be, it must follow the processes. But then when you've got that thyroid, that's pumping like crazy, then it's just like this rain that we're talking about, that it's coming in torrents and it's not doing the job because it's supposed to be small showers, slow showers that are filtered. But then, so what happens? You are eating, but you're not getting the nutrients because it's
flying past.
It's flying past. Okay. So those are just the examples of what would happen in a case, and that heart would pack up. That heart would definitely pack up. Okay. So that is what was happening in a case. So all they could do now was, because we cannot stabilize it, so what must we do? Chop it out. Take it out. When we come after the break, I'm going to talk more about that, because there are people that are facing a lot of serious problems because of thyroid. So let's go for a quick break. Life and death are created and controlled by God, so is nature. Nature, therefore, provides all the healing properties necessary to service mankind. Even scientists are students of nature. In the chaos of coronavirus pandemic, nature has provided us with mystical rose oil. This oil is a combination of specially selected and blended essential oils like clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, and many more. The special selection and the skillful blending process gives a finished product of remarkable protection from coronavirus. You have tried everything to protect yourself, right? It's time you try Mystical Rose Oil, the miraculous gift of nature. Okay, welcome back. We're talking about thyroid as a problem that causes calcification, but now we're talking more on the thyroid per se, not only relating to calcification, because it is a big one. I was watching a show the other day on another channel, and they were talking about how many people are actually suffering because of this product that has been introduced, which try to stabilize problems of thyroid. Okay. But now coming back to this lady. So all that they could do, because they could not stabilize the overproduction of the thyroid. So what do? They chop it. Okay, because that's how conventional. Like I was talking the other day that when something is saying, I've got a problem, the alarm.
They eliminate it.
They remove the alarm. Say, shut up, you're boring us. Yeah. Okay.
So if you have a headache, your head might just get chopped off.
Yeah, just be careful.
First you eliminate
yes.
the problem, and then you carry your head home. Hopefully
so that was the story with the thyroid, that people get thyroid glands removed when there's too much, when they cannot stabilize. But now in this particular case, they could not remove it because they've got to have the levels, your thyroid levels, to be at a certain level before they can, because if they're still too high, maybe they might be operating and that heart cannot handle it, and you will die on the table. So that's what happened in her case, that they cannot operate up until you have reached a certain level. Okay. Now, if you don't reach that level, they've got to keep on trying and trying. But then she was never reaching that level. So it almost took 6 months, and she kept on. They would test it, and they'd send home. They give her more medicine, and they didn't know what else to do. Okay. Meanwhile, while that is happening, the damage is getting done. It doesn't mean when they have not stabilized your levels and they've not removed that gland, you are sorted.
But the damage is happening where? To the other glands?
No, the heart.
Oh, now it's going to the calcification.
No, not just calcification. Remember, in her case, the heart is racing. That heart, and she's fatigued. She's tired like anything. She's losing weight because all that. That is how it was affecting her in this particular case. Not calcification. Okay. But
calcification is a symptom that you pick up.
No, in her case.
In her case.
Okay. No, actually, it was not an issue in her case. But I'm bringing this particular one because of the seriousness of hyperthyroidism which people are facing. But because remember, calcification is not just only a thyroid problem. Calcification is a small intestinal problem, is a thyroid problem, and is a kidney problem. Okay. But in her case,
it happens by the lack of calcium or the excess of
excess. Okay. Yeah, it's excess. Yeah. But in her case, I'm bringing the thyroid. But in her case, it was not calcification. She did not have calcification problems, but she had thyroid problems. Okay. But now I'm extending the discussion into thyroid because I know how huge thyroid is a problem to many people and is causing so many different. And I think actually I'm going to have a show on thyroid. Okay, just thyroid, whether it's too much or it's too little or what's happening. I'm going to have a show on that. But I wanted just to touch on this. But on this particular client, so that's what happened. That the thyroid was messing up. But now, when you've got issues of a thyroid, okay, it's not just limited to only metabolism in the heart, and even men. I mean, there are men who will have erectile dysfunctions because of thyroid issues. Okay, it's not just only limited to those. I'm just expanding to incorporate
us men now. So no or more milk can cause
more milk
as a calcium source. I'm massive, Amen. Again, men, and you think you are healthy.
I don't promote the bread. Yeah.
But the source of milk or the eating of meat, the excess of it, because then it becomes a lunch. So it's the amasi, it's a whole lot of meat.
No, but that's just on a very small scale.
Okay.
On a very small scale.
So the excess is very little.
Yeah, no, it's on a very small scale, but it does. It does because you get your. But then remember, I'm talking the thyroid, because remember the thyroid has got nothing to do with whether you're taking enough calcium. All it does is it pumps. It pumps the hormone that's gonna process that. Yeah.
What you're saying is the damage of the thyroid and its inability to be able to send enough or to function as well as it ought to, that it creates problems in the body and leading to the heart.
Yes.
This is exactly what we're talking about. Jokes aside, but it is the functioning of the thyroid and how we maintain it and how it can be treated.
Yes.
But then the symptoms, what are we looking at when you've got thyroid problems?
No, when you've got thyroid problems, like I'm saying, heart palpitations, that's one of them. Okay. And also a lot of fatigue. That's the other. You'll find people get very tired. Now, if it's under, but actually I don't want us to go to dwell onto that, because I'm going to do a show on it. But if it's under, you will become fat. You find you're trying everything to try and cut down on weight, but you're not responding to anything because your thyroid is inactive. It's underactive. Okay. But when it's over, you find you eat like crazy, but you might not, pick up weight at all. And some people you might find they will have goiter. You see those people that have got a growth that actually appears on the tummy as if the neck is bulging out. Yeah.
Not an Adam's apple?
No, not the Adam's apple. Some might even have eyes protruding as if they pop out. Okay. So you do have a range of symptoms depending on whether it's inactive or overactive. But either is a problem. It must normalize. But then calcification is one of those. Okay. And I've had serious, even just recently, I had someone who had serious, that heart. Also, almost the same symptom as the one who had air embolism. Okay. And remember, the obstruction is the same. Whether the obstruction is caused by calcification or by air, or by a clot, or by a fat, a lipoma, or by what. If there's an obstruction, it's a problem. Yeah.
But then the difference in the obstruction now is that on our previous show with air embolism, it becomes oxygen excess gas that gets trapped in the blood flow. With this one now, with calcification, now we are talking the crystallizing.
It actually hardens. Yeah.
So it actually becomes almost permanent.
No.
Blockage.
No. It doesn't. When it's permanent, unless your permanence, you mean in terms of it's never gonna be removed, or
the hardness.
Yeah. No, it's not permanent. Well, with us, it's not permanent.
Okay.
It's not permanent.
But in conventional, is it permanent? Because when it crystallizes, it stays, it blocks the vessel.
Yes.
And how do you break down the vessel? And can conventional figure out how to break down that?
Well, I can't answer for them.
Okay.
I cannot answer for them. I can only answer for us. That with us, it's actually much easier to decalcify a crystal. The calcium crystal. It's actually quite easy, I promise you. It's quite easy. Even though it hardens. Because remember, it lines up the arteries. It lines up the arteries and it blocks them and it hardens. You see what the difference with it and a clot or air? Because air is a bubble. Okay. You can puncture the bubble however you do it, and it's because like this lady that I was talking about in the previous show, she was sick, almost like dying a day before. When she came to me and I gave her the treatment, the following morning when she called me, it was like a totally different person because that air was gone.
Passed out.
And voila, back
and
to...
what's the reaction? How does he now behave after the tiredness?
No, but then she's as fresh as anything because the blood is flowing. Because that's what I'm saying, that when she called me, she said, you're not going to believe. Because I'm actually cleaning my house now. From someone who could barely lie flat or who was restless as anything to someone who was cleaning her house. Okay.
It was an energy boost on its own.
No, it was not just an energy boost. It opened the path and the blood did its work. Okay. But now coming back to this one, so that it was this one that I'm talking about recently, that you find a person cannot put a finger. It's the same. It's the same in terms of how it affects you, because you that heart doesn't know what to do. Okay, but then the difference with this one is that it hardens, so you might actually even experience the pain here. It will not just be tiredness, fatigue. You might actually even maybe feel like a shaba, like a sharp pain, because it's hard, and some people that have also got calcification problems that are not necessarily affecting the heart, but which are still affecting the blood. But you find a person says, I had one person from KwaZulu-Natal. He could not even, he said the pain as so excruciating, it's like you're going to die just from pain. And it's not arthritis, it might even be misdiagnosed as arthritis. When it's in your joint, and meanwhile you're sitting with a big calcium crystal, calcium stone that's sitting. And
could it be even something that you helped me with, almost like thrombosis, where they couldn't understand the blockage in the veins leading down to my leg?
Okay, let me come back to that when we come back from the break. Let's go for a quick break.
Are you sitting with an illness with no diagnosis, and every doctor in town does not know what is wrong with you? Don't throw in a towel. There's hope for you. St. Mary's Alternative Clinic is a clinic with divine guidance that can do what doctors can't do. Make a booking and you won't be sorry.
Welcome back. We're running out of time. There's so much to talk about under each topic, but we try and condense it now. We were talking about calcification, and even that it's not just only localized to your respiratory area or your cardiovascular system, but a calcium crystal can be lodged anywhere. Like I'm giving an example of this gentleman where it was lodged on his limbs, lower limb. But now coming back to the third, remember I said when there are issues of calcification, your thyroid is there, your small intestines are there, and your kidneys are there. Okay, so let me come to the kidneys. There are many people who are seriously having kidney problems and are not even aware of it. Okay. I know that many people who've got blood pressure, they always expect to have kidney problems. And it's actually a catch-22, because if you've got blood pressure, it leads to one of the things is it will mess up your kidneys. But if you've got kidneys, that will also mess up your heart. So you it's a chicken and the egg. But now, kidneys, where do they come into the picture of calcification? Kidneys, they maintain electrolytes balance. Okay, it's not just they don't just work with calcium, they work with your potassium, with your sodium, magnesium, all these minerals that we are aware of in our bodies.
Those as a group, they are known as
electrolytes. Yeah. Okay. So it is the kidneys that maintain the balance of those minerals. Okay, and calcium is one of those. Okay, but now once the kidneys have got issues, whatever the problem may be that causes issues with your kidneys, one of the functions where they start to fail is in filtering, because by that, how do they maintain the electrolyte balance? They filter. They keep the levels normal. Whatever's in excess, they will filter, release.
And they filter medication.
No, they filter the waste because remember, blood is filtered by the kidneys, but when they filter it, they will leave the blood clean, and they take out urine. Urine is blood, but it's waste. It's toxic. It's stuff that must come out, but it's actually blood.
But in the same vein, we still say the liver takes strain by absorbing medication that we take.
Of course.
If I'm addicted to an aspirin of any sort, it's going to work on my liver. If I'm addicted to drugs, alcohol, whatever that I consume that's regarded as waste in the body,
it will affect your liver, but it will affect your kidneys as well. Because remember, the liver has got a lot of functions, but it is also an eliminating organ.
All right.
But in eliminating, it does not have its external port, where it's like your kidneys, they've got an external port, which is you will urinate. Okay. The colon, the digestive system,
you will
colon.
Go to the bathroom.
The skin is also an eliminating organ, and orally you will vomit. But the kidneys, the liver uses all those hence I was even talking about iron, that when you've got iron overload, you'll see the skin. That's the liver. So the liver uses the kidneys to eliminate fluids. Solids, colon, fluids, renal system.
So it's a dispensary organ.
Yeah.
It dispenses.
As eliminating, not just feeding. Dispensing as in, okay, take, let's,
So take and throw away.
Yeah. Throw away. This must come out, this must come out, this must come out. So what I'm getting at therefore is that your kidneys are an extension of the elimination from the liver, but they eliminate fluid. Okay. But which is your blood. So the blood, they will filter whatever should come out, which will come out as waste, as urine. That's why you find when you've got kidney failure, your blood cannot be filtered. It's not just the elimination. So that's why you will actually die if you were not to have the dialysis until you get a kidney transplant, because that urine is as bad as the feces.
It becomes.
It's just that it's just that it's fluid, whereas the feces is solid. But it's as bad as the feces, okay, in terms of toxicity.
And when people look at their urine and it comes out as white, they actually think they're healthy. Yet, someone gave me another conversation that your urine needs to be filtered. It needs to stink as much as it can, because then it's getting rid of all the waste that it needs to be. No. That's not the case.
No. Your urine is an indicator of what's going on. It doesn't mean when it's stinking, then it means you're healthy. It actually means you are trouble. But now coming back to calcification. So when your kidneys are battling to filter, then you find you end up sitting with high levels of calcium in your blood. It should not be in your blood. It should be flushed out. Okay. But now it's the kidneys that are filtering that. So when you've got issues with your kidneys, then you'll find you'll end up sitting with all that calcium. But then the problem, it is transported by the blood. Okay. So, and that heart takes a knock again. So you might find that a person might actually even feel as if it's cramping. That particular area where there's a deposit, there's that crystal stone. You might find besides the pain, it might feel like a pulling pain, okay, because it's hard, okay. So, and when it gets bigger and bigger, the pain is excruciating, is really excruciating. But when it is in your cardiovascular, in your respiratory area, in your mediastinal area, that heart is taking.
Now you're experiencing that.
Now you really experience that.
How sudden is it? How sudden is it? How quickly can it happen?
No, it's a slope. That's the thing about it, that it's unlike a clot, where if the clot has broken somewhere and then it gets lodged, it gets transported by the blood, and if it sits, and then, but even with the clot, let me not digress to the clot, because then I'm going to take another direction altogether. But calcification takes a longer period. Okay, it's a slow occurring crystallization. Okay.
And you experience it by what? Do you experience it by the symptoms that come up each and every time? What is starting to feed in your body, the tiredness, what are the actual symptoms, and how do you prevent it?
Yeah, it depends on where the damping has occurred. Because remember, it's not damped all over. So, like I'm giving an example of this person who had, for a long time, who had this excruciating pain. I remember when he came here that he had to be assisted to go and buy a bag because he was going to carry his medication. He was shocked because he had been to a scan, And remember, that scan works, it does a little bit of elimination and detoxification. He actually felt, he was shocked that he could walk in the mall.
The scan here at the clinic.
Yeah, I came here. Yeah, I came here from KwaZulu. And he was shocked that he could actually walk without having to sit down and end up having to get help to.
Because I remember my first scan when I couldn't sleep for days. I actually fell asleep.
Yeah, it does that.
Perhaps the relaxing effect, almost like a massage or something therapeutic.
And it detoxifies also. It reduces the load that you're carrying, because you might find that you may be carrying a load this much, but just by a little bit at the end that you've removed, then you find your body systems can start to breathe, and then they start to say, now we can, so it does, it's not just scanning, but it does a bit of
therapeutic element on it. But going back to the heart now, because on this particular case, we're talking about something crystallizing at a certain point. But let's go to the heart.
Yeah.
Because that's the scariest part.
Yes.
Everything else we can survive, but the heart.
Yeah.
When it
now
stops,
with the heart, like you were asking, how sudden? It's not sudden. That's the thing. That it will not just happen immediately, and that's it. It builds up over time. It builds up, and it keeps on crystallizing in your blood vessel in that particular area, and it will build up, and but you will have a telltale, whether you feel the pain, or if it feels like a sharp pain, or but you will experience the pain. With calcification, you do experience some form of pain.
With all of this, we're getting very educated. I'm starting to speak doctor language.
Yes.
I'll sit with my friends and I get bored and I start calling terms that I've heard that you speak about.
Yeah.
Are we talking here at the clinic? Are we saying, are we talking preventative, as opposed to, do I come to you when I've thought that everyone else cannot help me? Are you the last stop when all else is wrong? What are we saying at the sister clinic?
Let me say, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
We are in a position to do both, to prevent and to fix what has already been damaged. That's the advantage. That in some cases you will find a person who will walk to me and say, and I scan and I say, I'm picking up this. And at that stage, that person has not experienced anything that relates to what I'm noticing. It's too early. But yet for me, it's already there. I can see it. Okay. Then you find a person, even in Joburg, when I was in Joburg last week, and I mentioned something and then this lady said, I just experienced that 2 days ago. Meaning if she had come after 2 days, before 2 days, she would have said, no, I don't. So that is what we are capable of doing, that we can pick it up so early. And even with thyroid, There are people that are sitting with thyroid problems, but you find they go test it, and then they say, no, there's no problem with your thyroid, because with conventional, it has got to reach a certain level of damage before they can pick it up. I had one person, one client of mine who even quoted the name of the endocrinologist who tested her, because I was telling her she had problems of kidney stones. And I was telling her where her kidney stones were coming from and how her thyroid was. And then she asked, what is wrong with my thyroid? And I tell her, your iodine levels. Hello. And she said, but what would present? And I said, you will feel sleepy or you will feel... She said, I would be driving, and as soon as the robots go red, I would fall asleep. When they go green again, then I would wake up. She said it was that bad.
And that becomes death by default now.
Sorry?
Because it's death by default.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at...
But you die in a car accident.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, she went for a test, and the endocrinologist only referred to that she was losing sodium very quickly, which is a kidney problem again, electrolyte. Okay. But they never picked up that there was a problem with thyroid and that there was a problem with iodine levels. That was a few years back. But now she comes to me, and this is what I picked up. But what I'm getting at, therefore, is that we pick up things so early while they are still mushrooming out. Okay. But so we are in a position to do that, so prevent problems from getting out of control, like this heart that you can pick up. I mean, I had one more just before I finished. This lady had aneurysm. She came to me, she had breast cancer. And they wanted me to help with breast cancer. And I said, this is not what's going to kill this lady. She had such a huge aneurysm. The bulging out of her in her cranial area, the brainstem, was so huge. And I said, and she actually said, I've been to every doctor in town, not because I suspected anything, because of the noise in my ears. She said the noise gets so much, it's like there's a truck that's, and nobody could fix it. Do you know what happened? It ruptured. And she died quickly. Meanwhile, they had brought her for a breast. And I picked up, and I said, this is what, before we could even get ahead with the treatment, it ruptured because it was so huge. And for years, she had been moving from one doctor to the other. And up until, and really, it was not the breast that killed her. It was the rupturing of the aneurysm. So what I'm getting at is that we can pick it up so early, and we can prevent it from creating catastrophe. But when it has already hit you, we will be able to see what's hitting you, so that we're not chasing a rabbit. Meanwhile, we should be chasing a dog. So in closing, therefore, viewers, that's what we are saying, that heart problems can be prevented. Okay, whether it is a heart attack, which will be sudden, or it will be a congestive heart failure, where you will not wake up in the morning, you sleep and you never wake up. Whatever the type of problem, or it's palpitations or whatever the type of problem that you may be experiencing, we will be able to see what's causing it, and we'll be able to give you pointers. If you can't fix it, like I couldn't fix the hole in that white male, I will tell you. So thank you for watching, and we see you again in our cardiac problems bonanza. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.